The hardest word I ever said was goodbye, because I didn't know it was introducing me to the rest of my life. I thought endings only existed to break people I'd never imagined they could build them. I held on to closed chapters long enough to mistake familiar pain for home. I begged dead seasons to bloom again, ignored the doors life kept opening because I was staring at the one that already locked behind me. Sometimes hope needs courage, sometimes courage looks like walking away. You can't receive a new chapter while holding the last page too tightly. Into a beginning, every tear watered new ground, every ending became an invitation. I stopped running backward, started building forward. The thing I thought would finish me introduced me to myself. There were nights I packed more memories than clothes carried, or voices in the places they never belonged. I kept asking, what if I stay? Never asking, what if leaving saved me? Funny, freedom often sounds like loneliness at first, until one day you realize silence can also mean peace. The road didn't become less frightening. I simply stopped calling fear my compass. Every goodbye left an empty space, but empty spaces can become foundations. That's where I built new dreams, new habits, new prayers, new mornings. The old version of me kept knocking, but I had already moved to an address regret couldn't find. Some endings hurt so much is because they're making room for a life you've never been brave enough to imagine. Don't confuse the pain of transition with proof you're walking the wrong way. Sometimes growth sounds exactly like goodbye. Today I thank every ending I once cursed, every closed door, every missed chance, every person who walked away, because they created the silence where purpose finally spoke. If everything had stayed the same, I never would have met the person writing these words. If you're standing at the edge of leaving, remember, some journeys only begin when comfort ends. You don't need certainty, you only need enough courage for the next step. Tomorrow will reveal the rest. I turned my goodbye into a beginning, not because it didn't hurt, because I refused to let pain write the final page. Every sunrise became another promise, every setback another lesson, every goodbye another doorway. I stopped mourning the life that ended, started becoming the light that was waiting all along. If you're holding an ending right now, don't rush to understand it. Some answers only appear after you've walked far enough to look back. The chapter closing today may become the reason you smile 5 years from now. Don't measure your future by today's pain, measure it by tomorrow's possibilities. Sometimes the bravest thing you'll ever do is whisper goodbye. Not because you stopped caring, because you finally started believing. Still had another beginning waiting for you. The goodbye wasn't the hardest part. The hardest part was believing I deserved another beginning. Yeah. The first morning felt strange. No messages, no familiar voice, no reason to look back, just silence and a sunrise I almost didn't notice. Funny how peace can feel uncomfortable when chaos has been your routine. I kept waiting for something to break. Instead, everything started healing slowly, quietly, without asking for permission. The road didn't promise it would be easy, only that it would keep moving. I turned my goodbye into a beginning, brick by brick, breath by breath. Every lonely night became another lesson. Every sunrise became another reminder. You can't discover who you're becoming if you're always trying to become who you are. Who you are. I cleaned out old boxes, found letters I thought I forgot, and read them one last time, not to reopen the wound, to thank it for teaching me what love should never cost. Some memories belong on shelves, not shoulders. Some chapters deserve respect, not residence. That day I packed away the pain, not the lesson. Healing isn't forgetting, it's remembering without bleeding. Every time I met a stranger who smiled like life still believed in me. It reminded me not everyone who enters your story is there to leave. Some arrive to prove that endings create space for people you would have never met if you kept holding on. Hope usually arrives disguised as ordinary, don't overlook it. But in the chapter you're reading was never the best part of your story. What if the pages you're afraid to turn contain the version of yourself you've always been searching for? Sometimes faith looks like walking forward before the road makes sense. I stopped asking, why did it end? Started asking, what is this preparing me for? That question changed everything. I found purpose inside places I once called empty. I found strength inside tears I thought were only weakness. I found myself standing in the middle of a life I would have missed if goodbye never happened. If you're afraid to leave what's familiar, remember, comfort can become a cage when you've outgrown it. The door is already open. Your future isn't waiting for perfect timing. It's waiting for one honest step. I turned my goodbye into a beginning, not because the pain disappeared, because the purpose got louder. Every ending became a doorway. Every failure became a teacher. Every goodbye became a bridge leading me toward the person I was always meant to become. I didn't lose my story. I finally started writing the next chapter. If you're standing at the edge of an ending, don't rush to fill the silence. Sometimes silence is where your future learns your name. You'll miss some people, you'll miss some places, you'll even miss the version of yourself that believed it couldn't survive without them. But one day, you'll wake up and realize the goodbye didn't take your life away. It gave you a chance to build one that finally belongs to you. So keep walking, don't chase closed doors. The sunrise is never needed. Yesterday's permission to rise, neither do you. I thought I was leaving my past, until I realized the last thing I had to walk away from was the person I used to be. The suitcase got lighter, but somehow my heart still felt heavy, because you can leave a place and still carry its shadows. I changed cities, changed friends, changed habits, but the voice inside me still introduced itself as fear. That's when I realized you don't escape your past by running, you outgrow it by becoming someone it no longer recognizes. The hardest goodbye was never to them, it was to the excuses I kept calling home. I turned my goodbye into a beginning. One choice, one sunrise, one breath at a time. Every closed door became a compass. Every the ending didn't destroy my future, it introduced me to it. I used to chase what left, now I protect what stayed. My peace, my purpose, my people. Funny how priorities change when survival stops being your only goal. Success stopped meaning recognition. It became going to sleep without fighting my own thoughts. That's a victory. No trophy can replace some victories. Never make the headlines, they simply change your life. I passed the places that once broke me. Nothing looked different except the person looking back. The same road, the same sky, the same buildings, but not the same soul. Healing didn't rewrite history, it rewrote the narrator. And suddenly, the story sounded different. What if the life you're praying for is waiting on the other side of one decision you've been too afraid to make? Not because you're weak, because comfort can sound like safety, even when it's slowly stealing your future. Today, I smile at uncertainty because I know every chapter starts without knowing how it ends. Faith isn't certainty, it's movement, it's taking the next step when the whole staircase refuses to appear. Every goodbye prepared me for a hello I would've never recognized before. Sometimes loss cleans the window so purpose can finally be seen. If you're standing between the life you know, the life you're meant to build, don't wait until fear disappears. Walk anyway. The bridge doesn't appear because you believe, it appears because you move. That's how every new beginning starts. I turn my goodbye into a beginning. Forgetting by forgiving, not by running, by rebuilding. Every sunrise gave me another page, every failure another sentence, every scar another reminder that broken things can still become beautiful stories. The goodbye didn't end my life, it ended the chapter that no longer fit who I was becoming. If you're listening, holding on to something life has already asked you to release, don't confuse letting go with losing. Sometimes the hands that finally open become the hands that can finally receive. The future doesn't always knock loudly, sometimes it waits patiently until you're brave enough to stop reading the same chapter again and again. Your goodbye may never make sense today, but years from now you may discover it was never the end of your story. It was simply the first page of the life you were always meant to live. I kept thanking the beginning until I realized the goodbye deserved the thank you too. This morning felt different, not because life changed, because I finally stopped measuring my future against my past. I stopped comparing today's peace to yesterday's pain. Stopped asking why it happened, started asking who would help me become. Funny, the answers were waiting the whole time. I was just too busy looking back to see them. The chapter didn't close to punish me, it closed because the story needed room to breathe. I turned my goodbye into a beginning, not overnight, not without tears, but every sunrise carried another reason to believe. Every broken dream made space for a better one. Every ending quietly became the architect of my future. I walked past the places I once couldn't survive without the cafe, the street, the old apartment. Nothing reached out to stop me because the chains were never outside, they were hidden inside the stories I kept repeating. The moment I rewrote those stories, the road finally became mine again. The goodbye you cried over was protecting you from a future too small for who you were becoming. What if every delay, every detour, every heartbreak was quietly stretching your capacity to carry the life you've been praying for? Don't curse the season that built your roots. One day, its silence will make sense. Today, I don't chase what left, I invest in what remains. Peace, character, faith, people who choose to stay. I learned that beginnings don't always arrive with fireworks. Sometimes they arrive as ordinary mornings, where your heart finally feels lighter than your memories. That's how you know you've healed, not because you forgot, because you can remember without losing your way. If you're standing with one hand on yesterday and one hand reaching toward tomorrow, let go gently, don't rush, don't force it. Healing has never been a race. Just promise your future one thing, that you'll stop punishing it for something it never did. I turn my goodbye into a beginning, because I refuse to let one ending become my identity. Every sunrise wrote another sentence, every failure added another lesson, every scar became another reminder that broken roads can still lead to beautiful places. The goodbye didn't steal my life, it returned me to the person I was always trying to find. If this is the last verse you hear, carry this with you. One day, you'll stop calling it the worst day of my life. You'll call it the day everything changed. Not because it was easy, because it was necessary. You'll realize that the goodbye never came to erase your story. It came to remove the chapter that no longer reflected who you were becoming. Life will always ask you to release something. Sometimes it's a dream, sometimes it's a person, sometimes it's the version of yourself who keeps believing you don't deserve another chance. Let that version go, then walk, not because the road is guaranteed, because the first step is where every meeting or beginning has always started. In years from now, when someone asks how you survive, the goodbye smile and tell them